guess we'll start with the move that you guys made this week to bring in Ryan. Jared was talking to us yesterday about the analytic numbers don't necessarily look great, but that you guys feel like you might use him in a different way, deploy him a little bit differently. Just how did this deal kind of come together, and what do you guys see in the players you brought?
Both players, or Ryan in particular?
Ryan.
Yeah, Ryan, I mean, obviously he's been a key part of the Rangers back end for a number of years. I think the warrior mentality is what kind of draws you into him. He's an experienced big game player. He's been a key cog on some very good Ranger teams. So I think we've been looking to add another guy that can gobble up some minutes. I think the way we'll deploy him, we think with the bite that he adds, the sandpaper, the hard to play against, a little bit of the ratty component, is something that our sauce needed. And I think, how Bedsy's got a lot of ways he can use him. He can use him with Kale. He can use him with Josh. He can mix and match him with Malinsky or Shillington. He'd get him on the penalty kill and hopefully take some minutes away, from some of our top guys who are pushing big minutes every single night. So that was sort of the thought process. And the analytics part, we have an awesome department ourselves here. There's sometimes things that we think we can separate some noise, and hopefully we'll get a positive player. But we'll bet on the character on Ryan Lindgren every day of the week.
Not to revisit the past, but with the Mikko deal, you made it to improve this team, and then all of a sudden there's rumors floating around that he could end up in the Western Conference again. When you're making a deal, do you weigh that at all, that he could, that there could be a deal upon a deal and he could end up again in the Western?
Who?
Mikko.
No, I'm not going to comment on what Caroline is going to do. We don't make deals thinking about pivot points by what the other team's going to do. So obviously he's a great player, and he'll continue to be wherever he is. With the Carolina Hurricanes, he's a dominant player. So
with those moves, what do you feel the state of the team is coming closer to the trade deadline? Are you where you want to be? Are you still looking at? Do you think you're short up, or is there something missing?
I think there's a lot of good hockey teams on both sides, the Eastern and the Western Conference. So, I think we're one of those teams. I think any given night if we play our A game, we're dangerous. I think it's no secret that we had to try and get deeper, both up front and on the back end. I don't think we're totally satisfied. If we can still find a way to improve the team, we'll try. How, I don't know. We've obviously used some draft capital and things of that sort, but I think we're deeper. I think Jimmy Vesey, we didn't touch on that, but he brings good value, right? He's a guy that Bedsy can use on a second line, third line, fourth line, and he can plug and mix and match and penalty kill. He's a decent sized guy too, and he's got some big game experience as well. So. I think he's a good depth add for us, and you're gonna need it. Well, you guys all know you're gonna need it if you're gonna fortunate enough to grab a spot and try and get through the battle that we all know the playoffs can be. So.
Curious about the prospect that we have in the deal, Hank Kempf.
Yep.
Is that someone that you guys scouted a lot? Is this just another example of like a college free agent where you bring in an older prospect that might be closer to NHL, or where do you see?
I think it's just simply it's a guy we have good reports on that our guys like, and we were able to get him in the deal. Obviously we've had Matthew Steinberg rip through Cornell and Sam Malinsky, so it's a school that we had a lot of direct specific looks at our own guy when our development team is in there, and then watching a free agent in Sam, and you get a lot of shrapnel viewings, and this guy kept coming to us, and we think he could skate. He's got decent size, and he's a guy here that's maybe he's going to be ready to turn pro soon. I don't think the fact that he's ready to turn pro was sort of the indicative factor of trying to get him. I think we just liked him, and we were able to get him in the deal. So we'll see where it goes here in the next few weeks, but we like him.
Rachel?
Middlestat shared that he's best friends with Lundgren, and a time where you're maybe wanting to see a little bit more from Casey. How can this help him elevate his own game, just knowing that he has not only a friend, but a best friend, as he called him, on the team?
Yeah, I mean, Casey, we all saw what he did last year at the end of the year and into a tough playoff series against Winnipeg and then Dallas and then the start of this year was really good hockey. So we definitely need to see that version of Casey, and I'm confident that we will. I mean, those Minnesota guys stick together. Obviously, I think, bringing Ryan in, if that is a spark for Casey or him, all the better for the Avalanche. I think it'll help in that it could help Ryan too, right? He's got, he comes over with Jimmy. He's got a good buddy on the team already in the transition. That can never hurt.
Chris, we know that on-ice chemistry is what it's all about. But what about off-ice? The past week and a half, we've seen at the NFL Combine players going through interviews with front offices. How much do you put in personality of players? Do you have a personality profile on guys around the league? And does that go into any of your decisions that you make?
Yeah, we certainly, we'll do that like for the draft, obviously. But any acquisition that we look to bring in, we want to, obviously it's tough to bat 1,000, but bringing in competitive guys and good people is always part of our equation. And we think with even going back to McKenzie and Scott Wedgwood and now Ryan Lindgren and Jimmy VC, we think that part was the easy part to check. They've been in the league for a long time and they're good quality veterans and people and hopefully that translates on the ice.
You've had just almost an unprecedented amount of turnover with your team this year for a team that is trying to win the Stanley Cup. Certainly, thinks this is going to be like 44 guys. Just what has this been like? What has this year been like compared to some of the previous years?
Well, I think a good chunk of that too has been we've been banged up, right? We haven't, for whatever reason, we haven't had, whether it's the best of luck with health or that's just hockey, right? It's certainly not by design. I think the trades were just moves that it's just one of those years where we felt we had to tweak some things, and certainly not something you go in every year hoping that you have to, make a multitude of trades, but it's just one of those years, Corey, and I think, we'll see if we have one more in us this week or not, but again, it's all done in light of improving our situation. So.
One of us. So with that, you guys have been one of the more active teams in the last 2 seasons, being aggressive in fixing parts of the roster you don't like, adding, kind of similar to the way that the organization was back in the early 2000s and the 90s. Is this just a symbol of where the organization is at? You got Nathan McKinney, you got Cale Makar. You want to be aggressive in approaching this roster? Or is it what you were just saying? Just the circumstances have kind of fallen in the perfect place where you've had to make deals.
Yeah, I think obviously when you have the superstar players that you have, there's an expectation, right, that you're, like you guys said it, you're a contender, right? Are you every year? Can you do this every year in perpetuity? No. There's going to come a time where we're going to have to recoup those assets because you need the young players. You do. So it's a fine line, and it's something we talk about continuously, but we do feel that as long as we have a chance to get one of those 8 tickets in the Western Conference, and then hopefully then be dangerous, and then a lot comes down to health, right? You can have all the good players in the world. They got to be healthy at the right time of the year too. So.
Do you have the latest on Gabriel Landeskog, and with that, obviously, how much he factors into when you're making moves like this with the team?
Yeah, no, Gabe continues to rehab. I think things are he's doing good. He's doing, he's grinding hard every single day, but I don't foresee him joining practice like in the next day or two or week or two here. So, I mean, I think you guys can figure out where this is kind of going, but hopefully it'll keep going well.
Marky Beaches, I mean, he's hit the ground running with the team. Are you surprised at how quickly he's integrated? And also, I know you're always planning ahead. He's only got 1 year left out this year. Is that something you guys would like to kind of handle this summer if possible?
Yeah, I mean, we'll push all that stuff into hopefully late in the spring when we really start to dive in. But obviously, he has a contract for next year, so it's there's not sort of like a burning impetus to get it done in today or tomorrow. But obviously we knew his contract situation. It's a good number for next year, and we'll see. He certainly has fit in well. His speed, and he's an electric offensive player. Obviously we want to see how he finishes the year and how he plays in the playoffs, and then we'll attack that in the off season.
There hasn't been a guy on the team, including Jared Bednar, that hasn't talked about how vital getting Val Nichushkin has been the last couple games. Just given the way that his playoffs have ended the last couple of years, is there anything different or any kind of approach you guys are taking to just try to keep that from happening again?
Listen, I think Val is, as we've talked about Val, and we prioritize Val's health, his happiness. I think he's in a good place. I think Val continues, because he's back playing, he continues to do the things that he has to do in order for him to function as a human being, let alone a hockey player. He's a great hockey player, and you guys see it every day, just like we do. When he's in the lineup, he's a game changer for us, an absolute game changer. The other stuff, the life stuff, of course we're going to do whatever we feel we can do to help him. He knows that. That's all we can do, is do the best we can, support him, be there, and Val knows that.
Corey mentioned 44 players or whatever it is and all the changing parts. Can you talk about the job that Jared has done, just kind of stabilizing everything?
Yeah, I'm highly biased on this. I think Jared is one of the best at what he does in sports. I think, let alone hockey, I think the way he connects with our players of all different personalities, Nathan, Kale, right on down to the respect that he, for players that come up from the minors, the way he communicates and handles different circumstances. We're very fortunate to have him as the head coach here. And again, I'm biased, but I think he does a dynamite job day in, day out.
You mentioned earlier when you were talking about Landeskog that we think we know kind of where this is going. Is that kind of just a sign that he might not be playing this year? Or is there a sign?
Yeah, I think
playoffs?
There's a chance. Obviously I can't predict the future, but he continues to rehab. He's not practicing with the team yet. It's 2.5 years, and you're not practicing with the team in early March. Like we're going to continue to take it week by week here, but he is grinding. He is doing everything he can. It's just like I didn't think June 26th, 2022, that the injury would be 3 years, right? So I don't know, there is no playbook for this. We'll just continue to chip away at it, and he's doing everything he can. That I know. So we'll see where it goes.
Time for a couple more. Go
How
ahead.
disappointing is that, and how difficult does it make your job as a GM when you're trying to build a team to win a cup and go out and get these different parts when
It is what it is, right, Rach? It's a challenge of the job. I think everybody goes through it. Every team every year goes through injuries. For me, it's more what he's going through, and this guy's he's an unreal hockey player. I can't even imagine how he's dealt with this day in, day out. A game he loves, how good he is, and he's a young guy, right? Like he's not 35, 36, and he's like, I can look back and played 15, 16 years, and he's right in his wheelhouse. So for me, I hope it's going to happen for him. But obviously, it's been a while, right? But if anybody can do it, I think it's Gabriel Landeskog, and I think not only me, Bedsy, our players, and organization. I think the hockey world wants to see it, right? You want to see him get back out there, and and see how he can do. I think everybody's behind him. So, but yeah, it's challenges just for us, Joe, Bedsy. It's something you got to deal with, right? And so we deal with it the best we can.
Corey, and then we finish with Aaron.
Nate's going to hit 1,000 points here in the next couple weeks. Just every team has their best player. Lots of teams have their franchise guy. But just what is it like to be the GM of the team that has Nathan McKinnon as the franchise?
Yeah, I've said it. From coming here from day one, and I remember the first day seeing it. You know, you see him over the years as a member, you know, another team, but to see him from the sideboards or to see him up close and how hard he works and how fast he is and how it's like a Mack truck moving at 75 miles an hour down the highway, and it's awe. You're in awe at what he can do when you watch him close. We're really fortunate to have him. You know, we're really fortunate to have a lot of our players, but you know, with Nathan closing in on that, I think it just speaks to, you know, how dominant he is, and that, you know, that dominance is not by accident, right? Like there's, you know, obviously he's highly skilled, but he's highly motivated, and he deserves all the accolades that he has coming to him both now and down the road.
Last two, Arif, and then Jesse.
At the beginning of the year, you guys were kind of saving that cap space for Landeskog in case he comes back. It looks like that's not really just the way the numbers are right now. It doesn't look like that's obviously been followed through with all the changes you've made. Is there a point where you're looking for some kind of finality to not have to keep planning for it if Landeskog comes back?
No, it's up to Gabe. Gabe's earned that right. He's a hockey player under contract, and as long as he feels he's going to battle through and see where it can go, he's earned that right, certainly with us, and everything we do is with the hope that he's going to play hockey again.
Jesse.
I know you got a lot going on this week. Have you guys talked at all with Jonathan Drouin's camp about maybe getting an extension after this season? I know maybe it hasn't gone the way he hoped with the injury.
Yeah, I'm not gonna comment on UFAs to be like, now the focus is on playoffs, securing a playoff spot, and then hopefully doing some damage. That stuff will take care of itself. We've got a few guys, not a ton, but you know, obviously Jonathan Drouin's been a key guy here for the last, you know, year and a half, and we expect and hope that he has a very strong finish to this year, because we need him. We need him to be a key guy. He has a big responsibility in the top six, you know, along with a guy that, you know, with Casey Middlestat and getting Val back. It's massive. It's massive for us, for those guys to perform at a high level. And now with the trade deadline approaching, we're in, you know, sort of the final 20 games. It's a very important time of year. So that's what we're focused on.
Great.